The galaxy was a vast ocean of stars, filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. Civilizations had risen like flames in the dark, and many had been extinguished just as quickly. For thousands of years, great empires fought endless wars to claim dominance over the void. Fleets clashed, planets burned, and billions of lives were lost to ambitions too large to measure. In this grand theater of power, one species was often overlooked: humanity. The people of Earth had joined the Galactic Council late, centuries after most other great civilizations had already carved their names into history. Humanity's colonies were small, their fleets modest, and their influence in politics almost invisible. To the galaxy, Earth was nothing more than a quiet corner, a planet that spoke softly and carried no threat. Most species saw humans as fragile newcomers. They laughed at Earth's inexperience and pitied its lack of strength. They are dreamers, some said. They are too emotional, too divided, too young to survive the storm of the galaxy. Others claimed humanity would never rise to true power, that they would remain background voices in the council halls forever. And yet, rumors began to spread. They started small, whispered in starports and trading routes. A captain swore he had seen a shadow in deep space, a silhouette so large it blotted out the stars. A smuggler claimed his scanners detected a signal far stronger than any human ship should carry. Some dismissed these stories as lies, while others wondered if humanity was hiding something. The idea seemed impossible. Humanity lacked the resources, the technology, and the time to build anything that could challenge the older empires. How could such a young species ever construct something worthy of legend? And yet, the whispers did not die. They grew louder with every passing year, filling the galaxy with a strange tension. Across council chambers, alien delegates sometimes joked about it. Perhaps humans are building a giant ship under their oceans, one would say, and laughter would follow. But behind the laughter there was unease. If the rumors were true, if humanity truly was hiding a weapon of unimaginable scale, then the balance of the galaxy might shift forever. Still, no proof was ever found. Earth remained silent. Their fleets were ordinary, their colonies modest, their voices calm. The whispers seemed like nothing more than stories told to pass the time. And so, the galaxy waited. It watched with careful eyes, curious but uncertain, never truly believing. But deep within humanity's heart, far from alien eyes, something ancient stirred. Generations had worked in shadows, engineers and dreamers giving their lives to a secret too large to reveal. Humanity's history was filled with struggle, and they knew that one day the galaxy would test them. They knew that survival would demand more than courage. It would demand something extraordinary. No one could have guessed what was being forged. No one could have imagined the scale of the project, the sacrifice it required, or the vision that guided it. To most, Earth was still weak. To most, humanity was still a child. But a child can grow, and one day, the galaxy would see that growth with its own eyes. So the stars waited, empires watched, civilizations held their breath. All across the galaxy, hidden beneath politics, war, and pride, there was one silent question. What are the humans truly preparing for? The answer would not remain hidden forever. The day was coming when shadows would move, when silence would break, and when the truth would rise from the depths of the void. The galaxy thought it knew Earth. It thought humanity was small, fragile, unworthy of fear. It was wrong. And when the moment arrived when humanity finally revealed what it had built in secret, the galaxy would never be the same. The Cathari Empire had always been feared. They were a race of conquerors, born in the fires of war and raised on the ashes of broken civilizations. Their fleets stretched across hundreds of systems, their banners carried by soldiers who knew no mercy. Wherever they marched, silence followed, for they left behind only ruins and graves. To the Galactic Council, the Cathari were a problem too great to solve. Many had tried to resist them, but few had lived to tell the tale. Dozens of smaller races had already vanished beneath their crushing armies. The galaxy knew the Cathari would not stop until every star bowed to their rule, and then their attention turned toward humanity. At first, the Council believed the war would be short. Humans are weak, the Zorath delegates declared with a hiss. They cannot resist for long. Others agreed. They thought Earth would fall in days, that its colonies would shatter like glass under the weight of the Cathari armada. But the humans did not surrender. When the first Cathari fleets entered Terran space, they met not silence, but fire. Small as they were, the human defense fleets stood and fought. Every battle was uneven. For every human ship, the Cathari had 10. For every Terran soldier, the enemy had legions. Yet humanity did not bend. Colonies at the edge of Terran space resisted, with everything they had. Families armed themselves, civilians turned into soldiers, and children grew up in the shadows of war. Human ships fought until their hulls cracked, until their engines bled sparks into the void. Even when defeat was certain, they refused to retreat without a fight. The galaxy began to whisper again, but this time not about shadows or rumors. They whispered about courage, about the strange fire that burned in human hearts. "How do they fight like this?" asked one counselor in disbelief. "Why do they not yield when all reason says they should?" asked another. The answer was simple: because Earth had always been this way. Humanity's history was filled with wars for survival, struggles against impossible odds, and victories won by sheer will. Now that same spirit was unleashed among the stars. Still, courage had its cost. Cities on outlying colonies burned. Refugees fled toward Earth carrying stories of terror and loss. Parents wept as they buried their children. Entire generations knew nothing but the sound of alarms and the fear of invasion. The Cathari only grew bolder. Every battle they lost made them angrier. Every human victory pushed them to strike harder. They began preparing something greater, an assault not just on colonies but on humanity's very heart. Their target was Sol. When the Council learned of the Cathari's plan, silence fell in their chambers. Sol was Earth's home system, the cradle of humanity, the place where it all began. If it fell, humanity would be broken forever. Many species expected humans to beg for help, but Earth never begged. Instead, the Terran leaders sent only one message to the Council: "We will hold. With or without you, we will hold." The words spread quickly, echoing through the galaxy like thunder. Some admired the bravery, others shook their heads, convinced it was nothing but foolish pride. But all of them watched, and so the stage was set. The Cathari armada, larger than anything humanity had faced, gathered at the edge of the void, preparing to descend upon Sol. Yes, humans gathered what ships they could, building their fragile shield against a storm too great to imagine. The galaxy leaned forward in silence, waiting to see if the humans would survive, or if they would finally be crushed like so many before them. What no one yet knew was that humanity was not as fragile as they believed. Hidden deep within the shadows of Sol, something ancient stirred, waiting for the right moment to awaken. The war had reached Earth's door, and soon the galaxy would learn the truth. The Cathari armada was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. It stretched across the void like a wall of fire, thousands of warships moving as one. Their engines burned bright, their weapons bristled with deadly power. Even from far away, their advance looked unstoppable, like a storm rolling toward a fragile shore. In the Sol system, alarms echoed across every planet and station. On Earth, cities prepared for war. Civilian ships carried families to underground shelters while soldiers boarded transports to join the defense fleet. The people knew the odds were against them, but no one spoke of surrender. Humanity had decided, long ago, if the Cathari came for their home, they would meet them with everything they had. The Terran defense fleet gathered near the edge of the system. Hundreds of ships stood in formation, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight of Sol. To the Cathari, it was a pitiful sight. Their commanders sneered at the small fleet, confident it would shatter within the first hours of battle. But to the humans, it was more than ships. It was their last shield, The line between survival and extinction. Admirals gave speeches before the battle. Their words were carried across comm channels to every ship, every soldier, every Earth that trembled in silence. They spoke of courage, of sacrifice, of the generations who had dreamed of the stars. They reminded their people that humanity had always fought, even when the world told them they could not win. Still, beneath the brave faces, fear lingered. Everyone knew the truth. This battle was not balanced. The Cathari had overwhelming numbers, unmatched firepower, and centuries of conquest behind them. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. Even the admirals, hidden behind their calm voices, knew that the fleet could not stand forever. But Earth was not finished. Not yet. Far from the battle lines, hidden beneath the surface of Luna, something ancient waited. For decades, for centuries perhaps, it had been forged in silence. Generations of engineers and dreamers had poured their lives into it, working in secrecy so deep that even many humans did not know the truth. It was not built for conquest. It was not built to wage endless wars like the empires of old. It was built for one reason: survival. Within its chambers, thousands of crew members prepared. They had trained their whole lives for this moment, sworn to secrecy, waiting for the day the galaxy would test humanity's right to exist. Now, as the Cathari armada drew closer, they knew their time had come. On Earth, leaders gathered in the command halls. They looked upon the holographic maps showing the incoming storm of ships. Silence filled the room, heavy and cold. Many of them thought of their families, their children, their people. They knew the price of failure would not just be death, but the erasure of everything humanity had ever been. Yet in that silence, there was no despair, only resolve. The order was given. Deep beneath Luna's surface, the great engines began to stir. Metal groaned. Ancient lights flickered to life, and power surged through veins of steel. The ground trembled as something vast, something unimaginable began to move. The Cathari did not yet know. The Council did not yet see. The galaxy still believed this battle would end quickly, with humanity's destruction written in the stars. But humanity had been waiting, preparing, watching the galaxy underestimate them again and again. Now, the silence before the storm was ending. Something was about to awaken. Something that would change the galaxy forever. The humans looked to the dark void, their voices steady, their hearts burning with one truth: we will not fall. And beneath the cold surface of the moon, the Titan stirred. The Cathari armada moved into Sol with the confidence of predators. Their ships filled the dark like a swarm of blades, surrounding the Terran defense line with crushing numbers. On every channel, Cathari commanders mocked the humans, promising to burn Earth until nothing but ashes remained. The Terran fleet braced itself. Hundreds of human ships formed their line, shields raised, weapons armed. They knew the storm was coming. Many whispered quiet prayers. Some thought of their children's faces. Others stared into the void, determined to fight until the very last second. The Cathari struck first. A wave of fire tore through space. Plasma beams, rail cannons, and missiles rained down upon the Terran line. Dozens of human ships were destroyed in the first minutes, their wreckage scattering like sparks across the dark. Alarms screamed, hulls cracked, but still the humans did not retreat. They answered with their own fire, striking back against impossible odds. The galaxy watched. From the safety of distant stars, Council delegates stared at the unfolding war. Some felt pity, others felt grim satisfaction. This is the end of the humans, one whispered. They will be remembered as brave, but doomed. But then, the silence broke. Far beyond the main battle, near the surface of Luna, the void began to shift. A ripple of light spread across space as if something vast was awakening. Scanners lit up with impossible readings. Every fleet, human and Cathari alike, turned their sensors toward the disturbance. And then, it emerged. At first, it was only a shadow, a dark silhouette rising from the moon's hidden shipyards. But as it moved, its scale became clear. It was not a ship like any other. It was a colossus, the Titan class. It rose slowly, its engines igniting with thunder that shook the void. Entire cities on Earth looked up as the night sky glowed with its power. Children gasped, soldiers froze, and even the council chambers across the galaxy fell into stunned silence. The Titan was larger than any warship ever seen. Its hull stretched for kilometers, a mountain of steel given life. Whole fleets could vanish beneath its shadow. Its armor gleamed with strange markings, its shields pulsed with energy no alien could identify. The very sight of it seemed to challenge the galaxy's pride, as if humanity was declaring, "We are not small. We are not weak." The Cathari Armada hesitated. For the first time in centuries, their commanders felt something they had never known before: fear. From the Titan's command deck, Admiral Rains stood at the center, his voice steady though his heart pounded. "Titan of Soul," he said softly, almost like a prayer. "Awaken," and the Titan obeyed. Its weapons came to life, glowing with energy as old as its secret builders. Entire arrays of cannons rotated into position, missile silos opened like the jaws of a beast, and its main cannon began to hum with power that lit the dark like a rising star. The first volley came like thunder. A single blast from the Titan's main weapon split the void, striking the Cathari vanguard. Dozens of warships vanished in an instant, torn apart as if they were nothing but paper before the storm. The explosion lit the battlefield brighter than a sunrise, and every soldier, human and alien alike, stared in disbelief. Whispers raced across council channels. "It cannot be," one delegate gasped. "The humans built that?" The Titan moved forward, slow and unstoppable. Its sheer presence turned the tide of battle. Where the human fleet had seemed fragile, now it was a wall of fire supported by a giant. Every shot the Cathari fired crashed against its shields. Every strike the Titan unleashed tore holes in their armada. The galaxy had waited in silence, doubting, mocking, wondering if humanity truly hid something. Now there was no more doubt. The Titan of Sol had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The void of Sol trembled as the Cathari Armada realized the truth. They had underestimated humanity. Their confidence cracked, replaced by a cautious fear. The Terran fleet, once fragile, now fought behind a living fortress, and at the center of it all, the Titan-class ship moved like a god among mortals. The Cathari fired with everything they had. Beams of white-hot plasma tore through space, missiles streaked like deadly comets, and rail cannons cracked the darkness with the sound of devastation. Entire fleets had collapsed in minutes against lesser foes, but the Titan did not break. Its shields flared with every strike, absorbing the impossible onslaught, while its massive hull shuddered but held firm. On the Titan's bridge, Admiral Rains watched the readings with calm determination. His crew moved with precision, executing maneuvers no other ship of its size could manage. "Target the vanguard," he commanded. "Fire everything in sequence. Focus on the flagship first." The Titan's first response was devastating. Its main cannon charged with brilliance, and when it fired, the blast tore through the Cathari front line. Ships that had seemed invincible were obliterated in an instant. The explosion lit the void like a nova, scattering debris that would later be studied for centuries as evidence of humanity's secret power. But the Cathari would not falter easily. They regrouped, circling the Titan like predators testing their prey. Their weapons concentrated, aiming to overwhelm even the massive shields of the human colossus. Their flagship, larger than anything seen before, surged forward, bristling with energy that could annihilate moons. Yet the Titan was ready. Its massive frame moved with an agility that defied expectation. The engines burned brighter, thrusters fired with perfect timing, and the ship twisted in the void, blocking the flagship's path. Missiles collided with its armor, cannons struck its shields, but it endured. Every impact shook the human crew, but none faltered. Around the Titan, the human fleet fought with renewed courage. Inspired by the presence of the Colossus, even smaller ships pressed forward. They struck where they could, dodged where they must, and every moment bought time for humanity's defenses. The soundless void seemed alive with energy and determination. Meanwhile, the Cathari flagship unleashed its deadliest assault. Dozens of beams converged, missiles followed, and the main cannon charged with light that threatened to pierce the Titan's heart. The galaxy watched in fear. If the Titan fell, humanity would fall with it. Entire systems held their breath as the shadows of war drew closer. And then came the turning moment. The Titan fired again. Its weapons unleashed a fury no one had anticipated. An array of pulses, beams, and missiles that struck with precision. The flagship shuddered, systems overloaded, and one final blast from the main cannon tore through the hull. The enemy flagship disintegrated, leaving a trail of fire and wreckage that stretched for thousands of kilometers. The Cathari forces scattered in chaos. Their formations broke. Their morale crumbled as they realized that the humans were not just surviving, they were winning. The Titan advanced, unstoppable, while the human fleet pressed forward with hope burning in their hearts. But the victory came at a cost. Human ships were lost, their crews sacrificed to buy every precious second of defense. Explosions lit the void, screams echoed across comm channels, and yet, despite the loss, the determination never wavered. Humanity's courage had become unbreakable, forged in fire and steel. The battle raged on, but one thing was certain: the galaxy had witnessed a force unlike any other. The Titan of Sol had not only survived the impossible, it had changed the course of for the first time, the Cathari feared humans, not as fragile newcomers but as a species that could not be crushed. And as the Titan moved forward, leaving devastation in its wake, the galaxy understood a simple, terrifying truth. Humanity had arrived. The war was far from over, but hope burned brighter than ever. The battle in the Sol system raged without pause. Space itself seemed to burn under the fury of two unstoppable forces. The Cathari armada, once confident, now fought with desperation. Every strike they launched was answered by the Titan-class ship, whose shields held, whose weapons burned like a raging star. The galaxy watched in awe, unable to look away from the unfolding legend. On the Titan's bridge, Admiral Rains stood tall, eyes fixed on the chaos outside the viewing window. Every sensor screamed with data: enemy ships closing, missiles incoming, beams of energy slicing through space. Yet he did not falter. He had trained his crew for this moment their entire lives. Each order he gave was precise, measured, and deadly. Every human on the bridge moved as one, their unity the backbone of a power far greater than the sum of their parts. The Cathari flagship had regrouped. Its engines flared, burning brighter than any star as it charged forward, determined to pierce humanity's heart. Its weapons unleashed a torrent of destruction, and for a moment it seemed the Titan might bend under the pressure. The shields flickered, alarms screamed, and crew members held their breath as the immense vessel absorbed the blows. But humanity would not yield. The Titan shifted, moving in ways no one believed possible for a ship of its size. Its engines roared, firing bursts of energy that twisted the battlefield. It blocked the flagship's advance, taking the brunt of its most devastating attacks. Every crew member aboard knew the stakes. If the Titan fell, so too would every hope for Earth and its colonies. Yet fear was replaced by resolve, and resolve became courage. Meanwhile, the Terran fleet pressed the advantage. Inspired by the Titan, smaller human ships attacked with precision, striking at weak points in the Cathari formations. Missiles launched, beams cut through enemy armor, and the armada began to falter. The Cathari's confidence shattered like glass under pressure. Even their leaders, once fearless, felt the sting of panic. Then came the moment that would be remembered for generations. The Titan's main cannon charged, gathering energy until it shone brighter than a dying sun. Its hum filled space like the roar of a mountain, warning the Cathari that their era of domination was ending. With a single strike, it fired upon the flagship, tearing through shields, hull, and weapon systems. The enemy vessel exploded in a brilliant fireball, scattering debris across kilometers of space. The Cathari ships faltered, their formations broke. What had seemed like an unstoppable force now wavered in terror. Humanity's courage, backed by the Titan's overwhelming power, was turning the tide of the battle. One by one, enemy ships retreated, abandoning their advance as chaos consumed their ranks. Even as victory approached, the cost was clear. Human ships had fallen. Brave souls had given everything to protect their home. On the Titan's decks, silence followed each explosion. Each loss felt deeply, but it never broke the crew's spirit. They mourned, yes, but they fought on. Every scar on the Titan's hull was a testament to sacrifice, a mark of the unbreakable will of humanity. The galaxy watched in disbelief. The species it had dismissed as weak, as unworthy, was now leading the charge against a galactic superpower. Their courage was unmatched, their determination extraordinary. The humans had survived the storm, and now they were becoming the storm themselves. As the Titan moved forward, leaving a trail of destruction behind, the Cathari Armada faltered entirely. Their flagship destroyed, their formations shattered, they began a retreat, slow, chaotic, and terrified. Humanity had survived the impossible. Humanity had turned the tide. Admiral Rains looked out across the battlefield. His voice was quiet but filled with emotion. "We hold," he said. "And now we advance." Hope, once fragile, now burned, brighter than ever. The galaxy was learning a lesson it would never forget. Humanity did not break. Humanity did not kneel. And humanity would not be ignored. The battle was not yet over, but the path to victory had begun. The battle was over. Space, once alive with the fury of war, had fallen silent. The Cathari Armada, broken and fleeing, left behind the remnants of a shattered fleet. Fires of destruction floated in the void like distant stars, and the galaxy watched, stunned, at the cost of the confrontation. Humanity had survived the impossible. Humanity had won. The Titan of Sol drifted slowly among the wreckage, its hull battered but unbroken. On its decks, crew members moved quietly, exhausted yet filled with a deep sense of pride. They had seen death and destruction, had witnessed friends fall, but they had endured. Every scar on the Titan's surface was a reminder of what humanity had faced and what humanity could achieve. Admiral Rains stood on the bridge, staring into the darkness beyond the viewports. He thought of Earth, of the millions who had prayed and hoped from their homes, of the families who had fled to safety, and of the brave souls who had given their lives. For a moment he allowed himself to feel the weight of everything, the cost, the pain, and the fear. But above it all, he felt hope. The humans had not only survived, they had made their mark on the galaxy forever. Across the stars, the Galactic Council convened in shock. Delegates from every major species sat in silence, their eyes wide, their mouths open, struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. The humans, long dismissed as weak and inexperienced, had revealed a power beyond imagination. They had built a ship that dwarfed the mightiest fleets, commanded it with skill unmatched by seasoned empires, and had stood against the Cathari with courage that defied belief. "Have we been blind all this time?" whispered one elder delegate. "No," another replied softly, trembling. "We have underestimated them. We thought they were fragile, but they are a force we cannot ignore." On Earth, the people watched the broadcasts with awe. Children stared at the Titan, dreaming of the day they might follow its path. Soldiers cheered, tears running down their faces. Families embraced, relief washing over them in waves. The humans had endured a storm unlike any other, and they had emerged victorious. For the first time, the galaxy truly saw humanity for what it was: strong, resilient, and unyielding. The Titan of Sol returned to orbit above Earth, its engines glowing softly in the atmosphere's light. Its presence was a promise and a warning. Humanity would defend its home, its colonies, and its people with everything they possessed. And should the galaxy ever test them again, they would rise once more, unstoppable. Admiral Rains addressed the crew one final time before leaving the bridge. "Today we proved who we are," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "We are not weak. We are not small. We are humanity, and the galaxy will remember this day forever." As the Cathari retreated, the message of victory spread. Across star systems, across worlds and colonies, beings of every species began to whisper the same truth. Humanity had arrived. They were no longer a quiet corner of the galaxy. They were a power that demanded respect, a species that could not be crushed or ignored, and in the hearts of humans everywhere, a quiet pride burned. They had faced the impossible, survived against all odds, and stood tall. Their courage had reshaped the galaxy's destiny, proving that even a species underestimated by the stars could rise to greatness. The Titan drifted silently above Earth, a sentinel of hope and strength. Its shadow stretched across the planet. Below, a reminder that humanity would fight for its home, its people, and its future. The galaxy had witnessed a force unlike any other. A force born not of conquest but of survival, courage, and unyielding spirit. The Cathari would remember. The Council would remember. Every world in the galaxy would remember, and humanity at last knew its true place among the stars. The galaxy would never be the same again.